Ever wondered where your fundamental rights come from? The right to free speech, the right to petition the government, the right to a fair trial. Many of these ideas, which form the backbone of modern democracy, have deep roots in history. Today, we're going to talk about a man who was instrumental in codifying these rights, a legal giant and political mastermind named John Somers. He's not as famous as some other historical figures, but his impact on our lives today is absolutely immense. Stick around, because you're about to discover the story of the man who helped write the rulebook for freedom. Let's set the stage. The year is 1688, a time of immense political turmoil in England, known as the Glorious Revolution. King James II, a Catholic monarch in a predominantly Protestant nation, was deeply unpopular. His attempts to consolidate power and promote his faith led to widespread fear and opposition. Tensions reached a boiling point, and a group of influential nobles invited the Dutch prince, William of Orange, who was married to James's daughter Mary, to invade England and secure the Protestant succession. William landed with his army, and James II, seeing his support evaporate, fled the country. This left a power vacuum. Who was the rightful ruler? What were the limits of royal power? To answer these critical questions, a special assembly was called, the Convention Parliament of 1689. And this is where our protagonist, John Somers, steps onto the main stage. At this point, Somers was already a respected lawyer. Born in 1651, he was admitted to the Middle Temple, one of London's prestigious legal societies, and was called to the bar in 1676. He had a brilliant legal mind and a talent for constitutional law. He had already made a name for himself in 1688 by being one of the junior counsels defending the 7 bishops. These bishops had been put on trial for seditious libel simply for petitioning King James II against a royal decree they believed was illegal. Their acquittal was a massive public victory against royal overreach and a major blow to the king's authority. Somers' involvement in this landmark case cemented his reputation as a defender of liberty and the rule of law. So, when the Convention Parliament met, Somers, as a Member of Parliament, was a natural choice to play a leading role. He was appointed chairman of the committee, tasked with drafting the legal justification for the transfer of power from James to William and Mary. This was no easy task. They had to create a document that not only legitimized the new monarchs, but also prevented any future king or queen from abusing their power in the same way James II had. The result of their work was one of the most important documents in the history of democracy, the Declaration of Right, which was later enacted into law as the English Bill of Rights of 1689. John Somers is widely credited as being the principal author of this revolutionary text. So what did the Bill of Rights actually do? It was a game changer. It declared that the monarch could not suspend laws, levy taxes, or maintain a standing army in peacetime without the consent of Parliament. It affirmed the right of subjects to petition the king without fear of prosecution. It guaranteed free elections for members of Parliament and freedom of speech within Parliament. It also banned excessive bail, excessive fines, and cruel and unusual punishments. Does any of that sound familiar? It should. The English Bill of Rights had a profound influence on legal and political thought around the world. It was a direct inspiration for the United States Bill of Rights, adopted exactly 100 years later in 1789. The principles Somers helped articulate, that government power must be limited and that citizens possess certain inalienable rights, became the foundation for countless constitutions and declarations of rights across the globe. Somers wasn't just a lawyer. He was a passionate believer in educating the public about their freedoms. He understood that rights are only secure if people know what they are and are willing to defend them. This belief is powerfully expressed in one of his most famous writings, a pamphlet titled The Judgment of Whole Kingdoms and Nations. In it, he argued for the supremacy of law over the arbitrary will of a ruler. But he went even further. He declared that a book outlining these fundamental rights and principles of government should be kept in all families. Why? So that, in his own words, their children and their children's children may know their birthright. He envisioned a society where every single person was aware of their rights and the history behind them. For Somers, freedom wasn't an abstract legal concept. It was a birthright, an inheritance to be understood, cherished, and passed down from one generation to the next. It's a powerful idea that remains just as relevant today. An informed citizenry is the best defense against tyranny. Somers' star continued to rise after the Glorious Revolution. His legal brilliance and political acumen made him an indispensable advisor to the new king, William III. In 1689, the same year as the Bill of Rights, he was appointed Solicitor General. His career progression was rapid. By 1692, he was promoted to Attorney General, the chief legal advisor to the Crown. Then, in 1693, he reached one of the highest legal offices in the land, being appointed Lord Keeper of the Great Seal. This role effectively made him the head of the English legal system, responsible for the administration of justice and serving as the king's most trusted legal counsellor. He was at the very heart of government, shaping policy and law during a transformative period in English history. His service and loyalty to King William III did not go unnoticed. The king held him in extremely high regard. In 1697, in recognition of his immense contributions to the state and the law, the king elevated him to the peerage. John Somers was created Baron Somers of Evesham, or, as we know him, the first Baron Somers. This was the pinnacle of a remarkable career, a journey from a lawyer's son to one of the most powerful men in the kingdom. Of course, the life of a high-stakes politician is never without controversy. As a leading figure in the Whig Party, Somers made powerful enemies among the rival Tory party. In the early 1700s, he faced impeachment charges from the House of Commons, accused of various political and legal misdeeds. However, his support in the House of Lords was strong, and he was ultimately acquitted of all charges. The political battles were fierce, but his legacy as a statesman and jurist was already secure. Even after his political fortunes waned, he remained an influential figure. He was a patron of the arts and sciences, a friend to writers like Joseph Addison and Richard Steele, and a president of the Royal Society, the UK's National Academy of Sciences. He was a true Renaissance man of his era. So when we think about the rights we often take for granted, the freedom to speak our minds, the right to a fair trial, the principle that our leaders are accountable to the law and to the people, we owe a huge debt to figures like John Somers. He wasn't just a lawyer who climbed the political ladder, he was a visionary who helped lay the legal and philosophical groundwork for the modern democratic state. He understood that true liberty depends on a system of laws that protects the people from the arbitrary power of the state. He championed the idea that these rights belong to everyone, and that it's our collective responsibility to know them, understand them, and ensure they are preserved for future generations. His call for a book of rights to be kept in every family is a timeless reminder that our freedoms are not guaranteed. They must be actively learned and defended. The English Bill of Rights of 1689, his masterpiece, was not just a piece of legislation for its time. It was a beacon of hope and a blueprint for freedom that has illuminated the path for nations and peoples for over 3 centuries. And at the heart of that story is John Somers, lawyer, statesman, and architect of our liberty. Thank you so much for joining me on this deep dive into the life of a truly remarkable, if often overlooked, historical figure. If you found this story as fascinating as I do, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more stories about the people and ideas that shaped our world. Let me know in the comments what you think. Did you know about John Somers before this? See you in the next video.